Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. A bit late this year, but still happening is my top 10 albums of 2019. As always, this list is based on my own personal taste, and I would love to know your top 10 list down below. 2019 was a weird year for me when it comes to music. Not only was I sometimes too busy to really enjoy all the music that came out, but also this year didn't feel like a great one music-wise. Like, I remember 2018 absolutely killing it, and this one felt quieter and empty on my hand. But still, here are the top 10 albums that I personally loved. Also, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have been spoiled about this list, but through this video I can expand on the reasons why I love these albums, because for most of them I did not record a review, and here we go. So at number 10, it's Sigrid and her debut album Sucker Punch. So I did review this one on the channel and I leave a link down below, but I still love this album so much. It's such a good and effective pop album, and it really is pop music at its finest to me, and even almost a year later I am still enjoying it a lot. Number 9 is Lana Del Rey, Norman Forking Rockwell. I love Lana's music a lot, although I don't really talk about her much on the channel because it's not really what the audience on this channel enjoy when it comes to my reviews, so I don't really review artists from the US that much. But this album is so chill and passionate, and it really has, her music has a mood that you can't get anywhere else. And I love how it takes time to uncover itself, and I really enjoyed every minute of this album. Number 8 is Kaila Kimura, Ichigo. So there's a review for that one as well. And honestly, what a surprise this album was for me, because Kaila's music for me can be the best and the worst, but this album really got to me. It goes straight to the point of what Kaila's best music can be, and she still experiments. She really surrounded herself with really good composers and artists, and it shows. And yet it still kept this touch that is very much just what Kaila's music is all about, and I thought Ichigo was a total success. Number 7 is Love Builders by Heaven Stamp. So if you're familiar to the channel, then you know I love this duo from Japan, and their last album, Love Builders, is fantastic. They experiment while being on a very tight budget because they're not very popular in Japan, unfortunately, and still they deliver one of the best albums, which really blows my mind, but I think it really goes to both Tomoya and Sally Cinnamon, as they are both incredible songwriters and talented as hell. Number 6 is Shura Forever. When this second album was announced, I was not really paying attention. I enjoyed the debut album a lot, and when the first singles from Forever arrived, I was not that much into them. But turns out once the album was out, I was completely obsessed with it. It feels so good to feel represented through music, and this is such a lovely, raw and honest album. And it has some very 80s undertones to it, and obviously I love that. Number 5 is Shina Ringo Sandokushi. Another huge surprise for me back in last year. And I know I've been asked many times to review her discography, which is huge, by the way, so each thing in its own time. And what a way for me to really delve into Shina's music than through this gem of an album. I just love how bold and weird it gets, how cohesive it manages to be, and I honestly really love this one. I think even more so because I'm so unfamiliar with the rest of her discography, so I didn't really compare it to the other albums that came out before, and so this really allowed me to enjoy every second of this one. Number 4, Bastille, Doom Days. I love Bastille, and this album changed a little bit from the previous ones, and yet it seduced me all the same. It has a lot of very entertaining singles, and honestly all the songs are entertaining. And as an album, it feels very cohesive because it has a concept. And with a concept comes strong ideas, and I think that's the best type of albums for me, because if you follow a concept from A to Z, you end up making a really efficient album, and so they did. And yeah, there's not much I can say about Doom Days. There's also a repackage that came out, but I haven't really been able to really get into it, so I'm only talking about the first version that came out a few months ago. But yeah, I love this one. Number 3, Billy Martin, Feeding Seahorses by Hand. I love the debut album, and once again, what a lovely surprise with the second one. It's a very chill one, but the undertones are quite heavy lyrics-wise. And I just love how she has found her style, and it just works amazingly well. Number 2 is Nariaki Obukuro, Piercing. So, Nariaki tweeted when the album was announced back in December to hold off our year-end best albums list. And he was so right. This second album not only arrived out of nowhere, but holy shirt, it's amazing. The moment I listened to it, I was like, okay, this is a really good album, maybe just as good as the first one. Then I kept on listening and I thought, oh, this is even better than this first one. And it went to the point where I think he's just an absolute genius. And this album is fantastic. Honestly, it's what he can do best. And I don't know how he's going to top off this one, but I can't wait to see what he does next. And finally, at number 1 is Vérité, New Skin. I loved the debut album Somewhere in Between back in 2017. And when this second album was announced and the first batch of singles came out, I was not into it as much as I hoped. Call it overhype or just high expectations, but I was too distracted to really dissect this album. And once it came out and I finally focused on it, my god, I fell in love with it. It's so raw and honestly the best American indie pop music can do. After a couple of listens, I knew all the lyrics, the melodies, and this album can be very intense, heartbreaking, uplifting and hopeful, and truly one of the most special experience I had listening to an album in 2019. So there you have it. I hope some of your favorite made the list, and maybe this list will encourage you to seek out some of the great artists I mentioned. I will put links down below for each album, and feel free to also leave your top 10 list in the comment section down below. And as for me, I'll see you next time.